No, nihongo. Let's practice.
In these 4 videos, I'm going to show you the bare essentials of phonetics and spelling for Japanese. If you're using one of my pronunciation trainers, don't worry about memorizing this stuff. The trainer will do that for you. Just watch and pay attention. Everything you see here will show up sooner or later within the trainer. I'll be going through Japanese using the International Phonetic Alphabet, or IPA. This lets us simplify our discussion a lot, since I only need to talk about 34 symbols, many of which you know already, instead of trying to wade through more than 200 spelling rules. So let's get started. We'll break this discussion up into 4 parts. The first will talk about how the Japanese writing system works. The second will cover consonants, the third vowels, and the fourth will cover a few of Japanese's spelling rules. Since I'm still learning Japanese, I have a native speaker here, Saki, who will be helping us with the examples.
Hi.
So let's start by talking a bit about how Japanese's writing system works. It's a fairly unique language in that it has 3 distinct writing systems instead of just one: kanji, hiragana, and katakana. The first of these, kanji, isn't going to show up in these videos. Kanji are basically thousands of Chinese characters that have been adopted into the Japanese language. They don't give you any reliable pronunciation information, and so they're not really relevant to our current discussion. The other 2 writing systems, collectively known as the kana, are hiragana and katakana are known as syllabaries. Basically, instead of an alphabet where each character corresponds to some sort of sound, like a vowel or a consonant, the characters in a syllabary correspond to syllables.
So the word katakana, for instance, has 4 syllables. Ka-ta-ka-na.
And so the word is spelled with 4 characters. Ka-ta-ka-na. Right now, I'm spelling it using the katakana syllabary, but I can also do that with hiragana. Here's katakana again in the hiragana script. So to learn Japanese, you'll need to learn 2 full duplicate syllabaries with 46 characters in each one. And you may ask at this point, why on earth does Japanese have 2 different but duplicated writing systems? And it's a valid question.
The short, slightly oversimplified answer is that hiragana is used for native Japanese words like wasabi and tsunami, and katakana is used for foreign loan words like taiya and serori.
Japanese has a lot of foreign loan words, and none of the writing systems put spaces between words, so the 2 syllabaries coupled with kanji, they help a lot in terms of figuring out when one word ends and another word starts. For the purposes of these videos, I'll be trying to stick to loan words written out in katakana, in part to lessen the number of new syllables you're exposed to all at once, and in part because listening to loan words from English is a nice way to highlight the pronunciation differences between the 2 languages. To give you a super brief overview of what katakana looks like, basically you're looking at 5 vowels,
A, I, U, E, O,
which can be combined with consonants, giving you 5 character groups like this.
Ka, ki, ku, ke, ko, na, ni, nu, ne, no, ma, mi, mu, me, mo, da, di, du, de, do, etc.
There are a few consonants that behave a bit weirdly, such as Japanese's T, which behaves predictably with 3 of its vowels,
Ta, te, to.
but then sounds a bit different with 2 of its vowels.
Chi instead of T, and tu instead of tu.
And interestingly enough, those latter combinations, T and tu, they simply don't exist in Japanese. You cannot combine a T with the vowels U or I directly. So nearly every character in the Japanese syllabaries is either a single vowel like A or a single consonant and vowel combination like Ka. There are just a couple of exceptions to this.
Like a standalone N character, N, and a character that produces doubled up consonants, as in petto and kiku.
And at this point, we've covered most of what I wanted to cover here, except one last bit: how word stress works in Japanese. Now, often, you'll hear that there is no word stress in Japanese, and this is almost true, but not quite true. There is something that's very similar to stress in Japanese. It's called pitch accent, but it's not done in the same way that it's done in English. So let's deconstruct English word stress for a moment so we can have an easier time comparing the 2 languages. We'll start with an example word, America, where the second syllable, me, is stressed. To stress a syllable in English, you do 4 things at once. You're changing the vowels, the pitch, the volume, and the length of the stressed syllable and the syllables surrounding it. We'll go through these one by one. So first, most unstressed syllables in English words use different vowels than stressed ones. The first and last vowels in the word America, for instance, are both rather than ah. We're not saying America, we say America. And Japanese doesn't do this. Every a is always a, every I is always I. The vowels are consistent, whether or not the syllable is stressed. So if we were to replace all of the English consonants and vowels in the word America with Japanese ones, and we kept those vowels perfectly consistent, that would give us America, America. So, the second thing English does with stressed syllables is it makes them longer than unstressed syllables. We say America and not America. Once again, Japanese doesn't do this. They don't mess with syllable length. In fact, every single character, even that standalone N, takes the same amount of time whether or not it's stressed. So if we take that Japanified word from earlier, America, America, and we even out the syllable length, we get America, America. So now we're on to our third topic, volume. English likes to make its stressed syllables louder. In the word America, we punch that mer, and it'd be very weird if we did that to another syllable, like America or America. And Japanese doesn't do this either. Every syllable tends to have the same volume. So instead of America, ba 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 ba, you get America, ba 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 ba. In terms of volume, everything is flat. And our last topic is pitch, and this is finally where English and Japanese overlap a bit. In the word America, there's a melody to the word. It starts out low, goes high, me, and then goes low again, rika, ba 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 ba. English stressed syllables go up in pitch, and the unstressed ones tend to go down. Now, Japanese has high-pitched and low-pitched syllables as well. In the Japanese word America, the first syllable is low, and the last three are high. America. And this is a sort of default melody for Japanese words. The first syllable tends to be low, and the rest of them tend to be high. And nearly half of the words you meet will have this pattern.
As in flamingo, marathon, taia.
All other words have something called a downstep. Basically, there's one syllable that's the highest, and the rest of the syllables after it are low. In IPA, you'll see that downstep marked with a down arrow. If that highest syllable is the first syllable,
you get words like keburuka, chicken, and tomato.
Starting high for that first syllable, and then, after the down arrow in the IPA, stay low. If, on the other hand, the highest syllable is elsewhere, then you follow the default pattern. First syllable low, rest of the syllables high, until you hit the downstep, at which point you come back down.
So in biscuito, you go low, high, high, low. And Caesar salada, you go low, high, 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 low, low.
These melodies are going to be unfamiliar and challenging at first, and that's why I'm talking about them in the first video, so you can notice them throughout the rest of the videos, and after that, whenever you encounter spoken Japanese. I've read a few times that you should ignore pitch accent and pretend that it doesn't exist when learning Japanese, and I get the impression that that's said for two reasons. One, that it's challenging, and people don't want to scare new learners, and two, that English speakers will often do all sorts of Englishy things, like changing volume or syllable length or the vowels, instead of doing pitch accent correctly, by just changing the pitch. I think if you're aware of that ahead of time, you have a shot of getting it right, and at the very least being a bit more conscious about what you're hearing when listening to Japanese. And so that's it for video 1. To quickly review, we talked about 3 Japanese writing systems. Kanji, the thousands of Chinese characters adopted into Japanese, and the 2 kana syllabaries, hiragana and katakana, which are basically duplicates of each other, just katakana is used for loan words and hiragana is used for native words. We'll talk about the sounds these syllabaries can produce in the next few videos. The rest of video 1 focused on the differences between English stress and Japanese pitch accent, and how English creates stress by doing 4 things at once. We play around with the vowels of the word. We say America and not America, and we make the stressed syllable longer, louder, and higher pitched. And Japanese, on the other hand, has perfectly consistent vowels, even syllable length, and even volume. It's only when we come to pitch that we see similarities, and the Japanese syllables can be high-pitched or low-pitched. We also covered a few of the pitch patterns you'll tend to see in Japanese. The default one, which starts low and goes high.
As in America.
The pattern where the first syllable is high and the other ones are low.
As in keburuka.
And the pattern where another syllable is the highest. So it starts low, goes high, and then gets low again after that down arrow in the IPA.
As in biscuito.
That's it for today's lesson. Thank you for watching. See you on my next video.